Rick Harrison of Pawn Stars officially got divorced for the third time. We're here to give you the skinny on what happened between Rick and his wife. On paper, Rick, who has helmed 19 seasons of Pawn Stars over on the History Channel since it debuted in 2009, appears to have a spotty track record when it comes to marriage. His first marriage to high school girlfriend Kim lasted just a few years.
Rick Harrison, the face of Pawn Stars, has always been private about his life.
There's always celebrities in town, and look who we ran into today, Rick Harrison from Pawn Stars. And Rick.
Recently, however, his ex-wife Kim has broken her silence after the failure of their marriage. In a recent interview, Kim has revealed some never-before-heard information about her marriage to the reality TV star, thereby shocking the public and confirming some rumors. From personal conflicts to toxic control, was the man we see on screen ever truly the same behind closed doors? How well did we really know Rick Harrison? Join us as we take a deep dive into this shocking story. The shocking revelation. You know Rick Harrison as the sharp, no-nonsense star of Pawn Stars. But behind the fame, the negotiations, and the laughs is a father grappling with an unimaginable loss, the kind that no amount of success can prepare you for. The death of his son, Adam Harrison, from fentanyl poisoning seemed to have knocked the stoic star down. However, something more shocking happened. Just weeks after Adam's death, Rick's ex-wife, Kim Harrison, spoke publicly for the first time in years. And what she said stunned fans. In a newly released interview on an independent podcast channel in Nevada, Kim described their relationship as a performative marriage devoid of emotion and driven more by public image than family values. She stated clearly, "He lives in a world where everyone and everything in the family, including me, stood on the sidelines." One notable point in Kim's account was Rick's way of controlling the household environment, from daily schedules to major decisions without consulting her. Apparently, she had no voice in anything from vacations to buying a house. Everything was decided beforehand, and she was just informed. But Kim was not the only one revealing secrets. Deanna, his third wife,
Rick Harrison met Deanna Burdett in 2011 and married her in Laguna Beach, California back in 2013.
also revealed that during their marriage, Rick would often be away from home for several days, attending events related to Pawn Stars without her, even though she had been promised backstage involvement in some episodes. Deanna also shared that Rick never truly established a close bond with her 3 children from a different marriage. He wasn't hostile, but he kept a clear distance even during holidays, birthdays, or Thanksgiving. Rick didn't take on any meaningful role beyond simply being present. Another noteworthy detail was Rick's insistence that she stay out of the media and any public events associated with the Pawn Stars brand. This truly displeased her. Deanna recalled that first she was introduced as someone who would join Rick in some of the show's offstage activities, but then he completely changed. She was no longer allowed to speak to the press or be photographed at events. Rick said it was best to keep the media out of the family, but in truth, he just wanted to protect his clean personal image. According to Kim, the disagreements and feelings of isolation lasted for years. She had suggested marriage counseling, but Rick, as usual, refused, claiming that he had no interest in the issue. Kim admitted that in the final stretch of their marriage, they had nearly no meaningful communication. Going further, Kim emphasized that she had no intention of slandering Rick. She referred to him as an intelligent, successful man who knows how to achieve his goals. Unfortunately, the person who builds a brand and the person who builds a family are not always the same. When asked why she chose to speak out now, Kim revealed that she had remained silent out of respect for Rick's privacy and to protect their children. But after Rick continued making public statements about the family, particularly following the death of his son Adam, she felt she deserved the right to speak up at least once. Rick Harrison has not issued an official response to Kim's claims, nor has he come out to debunk the rumors. These revelations shook the media, giving rise to divided public opinion. While some sympathized with Kim saying she deserves to speak after enduring years of silence, others believe she chose a sensitive time to attract attention. As Rick goes through a personal loss, it is safe to say that behind the first-hand accounts and long-standing tensions lies a series of events spanning many years. Did he truly neglect his family? Stay with us as we find out more about Rick Harrison. The journey of Rick Harrison's life. It is important to remember Rick Harrison's journey from a regular businessman to a reality television icon to understand why Kim felt left behind. Where in Rick's path to success did the spotlight of fame eventually overshadow the presence of the people closest to him? Rick Harrison was born in 1965 in Lexington, North Carolina, into a family with 4 children. At just 8 years old, he was diagnosed with epilepsy.
When I was a kid, 8 years old, I got epilepsy.
Which forced him to miss school frequently and spend most of his time at home. The illness, which lasted into his teenage years, had a significant impact on Rick's mental state, but it also sparked his passion for books, especially those about history and business. In 1981, Rick's family relocated to Las Vegas after his parents' real estate ventures failed. Alongside his father, Richard the Old Man, Harrison Rick began working at a small coin and collectible shops, the prelude to the gold and silver pawn shop. Initially, they focused on buying and reselling antique watches and jewelry, primarily serving locals and tourists. But in 1989, the shop was officially licensed as a pawn business, marking the first major turning point in the brand's development. Rick quickly demonstrated an exceptional ability to evaluate items, know their worth, and detect counterfeits, a skill that later helped him stand out on televisions. Thanks to a clear positioning strategy and sharp market insight, by 2005, Gold and Silver Pawn Shop was issuing over $3 million in loans and was annually generating steady profits and establishing a solid reputation in Las Vegas. But that was only the beginning of his success. The biggest shift, though, came in 2009. After many years of pitching to television production companies, Rick signed a deal with Left Field Pictures to bring the shop's operations to the screen. The show Pawn Stars officially premiered on the History Channel in July of that year and immediately captured attention with its unscripted format that centered around the buying, selling, and appraisal of unique items. Rick played the central role in the show, acting as both the face of the shop and the main figure leading the transactions alongside his father, his son, Corey Harrison, and longtime friend, Austin Chumley Russell. The chemistry between the cast members and the intense negotiations contributed to Pawn Stars becoming the most popular program on the History Channel for several years. It was indeed a dream come true for Rick's family. Moreover, outside of television, Rick expanded his personal influence. In 2011, he published the memoir License to Pawn, in which he shared insights into his life, business, and behind-the-scenes moments of the show. The book quickly landed on the New York Times bestseller list. At the same time, Rick also became the face of various brands from shaving products to household items, and he made regular appearances on television shows, such as The Middle and iCarly. The huge success in his career came with notable changes in Rick's lifestyle and the way he managed personal relationships. As the show reached its peak between 2011 and 2016, which also marked the early years of his marriage to his first wife, his schedule became packed with media events, book signings, conferences, and efforts to expand the brand internationally. While the media portrayed Rick as a television pawn shop mogul, his private life became increasingly closed off. His relationships with friends and family, including members of the show's team, began to change. Deanna, his legal wife at the time, did not appear in any episode of Pawn Stars, even though she was living with Rick and assisting with daily household affairs. Television success helped Rick Harrison build a strong personal brand, but it also turned him into a completely different person from the early days of his business. Those changes led to growing tensions and distance in Rick's personal life. Marriages and divorces. Rick Harrison is no stranger to failed marriages. In fact, he has been in quite a few. As Kim's revelation on Rick's personal life became increasingly popular, the constant fractures within his love life were hard to ignore. Although he had recently ended his fourth marriage to his ex-wife Deanna,
Rick and Deanna appeared to have simply grown apart to the point where they could not continue the marriage.
she was only one out of the many women he had claimed to find love in. How many times did Rick Harrison go through a divorce? Stay with us to find out. Rick's first marriage was to Kim Harrison in the early 1980s. They tied the knot when Rick was just over 18 years old, during a time when he was struggling to settle into life in Las Vegas. Kim is the mother of his first two sons, Corey Harrison, born in 1983, and Adam Harrison, who was born 1985. Although the two lived together and Kim supported Rick through difficult years, the relationship quickly fell apart after 3 years, and Kim chose to completely withdraw from the public eye. To this day, little is publicly known about her except that she remained close to Corey and Adam throughout the years. Although Rick seemed devastated by his failed marriage, it did not take him long to find love again. Soon enough, Rick Harrison fell in love with and married Tracy Harrison in 1986. This became his longest-lasting marriage, spanning more than 2 decades. The couple had one son together whom they named Jake Harrison. Tracy was once believed to be quietly involved in helping Rick operate the Gold and Silver Shop before the Pawn Stars show was launched. As Rick's fame grew on television, Tracy's presence faded from the public. She did not appear on television, did not attend events with her husband, and was never mentioned in any of Rick's public statements. Tracy was virtually erased from the media narrative, even though she was still his legal wife at the time. Family sources revealed that the greatest disagreement between Rick and Tracy stemmed from how he managed his time and presence at home. Rick was frequently absent during vacations and school events, for their son leaving Tracy to handle everything on her own. In 2011, they quietly divorced without major asset disputes, and since then Tracy has withdrawn entirely from all media platforms. Following his 2 long and quietly ended marriages, Rick unexpectedly went public with his relationship with Deanna Burdett in early 2012. Their bond grew stronger, leading them to get married in July 2013. Unfortunately, this was not the last stop for Rick either. As noted earlier, this marriage also ended after 7 years. During their time together, Rick had no biological children with Deanna, but lived with her 3 daughters from a previous relationship. According to Deanna, Rick never truly created a cohesive family atmosphere, and his reluctance to mention her in public events was a clear sign of distance. Beyond these 3 official marriages, Rick also married Amanda Palmer in 2021, and this was the shortest marriage on record for him, lasting only about 2 years and receiving little attention in the media. Amanda did not appear alongside Rick at events, and the divorce took place quietly at the end of 2023. According to some entertainment sources in Las Vegas, the reason was said to be lifestyle differences. Amanda preferred a quiet life, while Rick continued expanding his television brand across multiple states. In the end, they both agreed to end their marriage. The continuous cycle of marriages and divorces over more than 40 years reveals that Rick Harrison's personal life has been far from stable. Contrary to the tough exterior seen by the public, the silence from those close to him, from Kim and Tracy to Amanda, subtly suggests that not everyone can endure life alongside someone who always prioritizes his career. The reality of his broken relationships, the silence of former spouses, and Rick's distance from personal affairs have created a portrait filled with emotional voids. But that was not the greatest pain in Rick's life. Everything truly escalated when this tragedy struck. A grieving father. On January 19, 2024, Adam Harrison, Rick Harrison's second son, died from a drug overdose. He was just 39.
Pawn Stars creator Rick Harrison mourning the death of his son, Adam.
Rick later posted a short message announcing his death, but behind that post was years of struggle. The unexpected death of his son, Adam, pushed Rick into the spotlight of public scrutiny and began to reveal the remaining shadows within the Harrison family. It dealt a cruel blow and divided public opinion. Adam's cause of death was later revealed to be a combination of fentanyl and methamphetamine, two dangerous substances contributing to the widespread opioid crisis in the United States. He passed away, leaving behind not only family grief, but also sorrow from viewers who knew of him through his father's fame. Adam had rarely appeared on television and was not involved in the Pawn Stars show. Unlike his brother Corey, Adam chose a private life. He once worked at the pawn shop for a brief period, but surprisingly stepped away entirely once the show began airing. Rick previously stated that Adam did not want to be involved in the spotlight, and the two maintained a relatively private relationship for years. Shortly after the news was confirmed, Rick Harrison posted his brief message, talking about the death of his son and the dangers of drug addiction. With one statement, Rick placed himself at the center of a national debate on social responsibility and the reality behind the rising death toll from illicit drug use in America. Not long after, he appeared in an interview on In Depth with Graham Benninger. This was the first time Rick publicly expressed raw emotions. His face was tense, and his voice full of emotion. He was so devastated that he frequently paused to collect himself. Rick Harrison said the pain of losing a child as indescribable and harshly criticized the government's lack of border control. A significant portion began questioning Rick's relationship with Adam. Were they truly as close as he portrayed? Some pointed out that Rick rarely mentioned Adam on air or in past interviews, in contrast to Corey, who was frequently referenced and seen alongside Rick. Adam was never included in any part of Pawn Stars despite being his biological son. Even those who had worked with Rick on the show were reserved when asked about Adam. A former producer speaking anonymously said, "We almost never heard him talk about Adam. Everything revolved around Corey, Chumley, and the show." This only deepened the divide in public opinion and confirmed the revelations of his ex-wife. As Rick ramped up efforts to advocate for fentanyl control following his son's death, reactions from people once connected to Rick were also noteworthy. Deanna Burdett, Rick's third ex-wife, did not comment directly on the incident, but in an interview conducted just weeks later, she briefly stated, "I don't doubt the pain Rick is going through, but I believe there are things that should have been built long before loss came." Corey Harrison, Adam's older brother, posted an old photo on Instagram with the caption, "Rest easy, brother." He made no further public comments and continued filming for Pawn Stars as usual, an act many found disappointing. Corey's silence sparked speculation about internal tensions within the Harrison family, which had already been the subject of past rumors. Meanwhile, in the months after Adam's death, Rick continued to appear in the media as a spokesperson on the consequences of synthetic drug use. He participated in a public health conference in Los Angeles, gave interviews to Fox News and the Daily Mail, and signed a petition calling for stronger inspections at the southern U.S. border. Still, his swift actions could not stop the criticism. Many continue to believe Rick is using this personal tragedy to bolster his public image. While some media analysts questioned whether he was attempting to reshape his persona following a series of personal setbacks, especially after multiple divorces and the prolonged silence of his former spouses. In this context, Rick's actions were seen as both a sincere effort and a calculated strategy. However, one thing is certain, Adam Harrison's death has had a profound impact on Rick's life, not only emotionally but also in how he presents himself to the public. For the first time in years, Rick no longer had complete control of the narrative. He showed vulnerability and exposed gaps that he had long concealed beneath a calm exterior. After an irreplaceable loss and unresolved controversy, one would think Rick Harrison would take a break from his constant quest for marriage, but the truth could not be further from that. In March 2025, Rick stunned fans again by announcing his engagement to 41-year-old nurse Angie Pelushkin. It is his fifth engagement. Sources say they met at a health charity event months after Adam's death. Although some fans see it as a new beginning, others think it's just another media play to divert attention and clean up a tarnished image. It is unknown whether Rick has truly found love this time, or if it's just another story that would end in divorce. However, one thing is certain: there is more to the reality TV star than he shows the world. Do you think Rick is truly trying to heal? Has he deliberately kept his shortcomings hidden from the public? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the following video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.